What's up everybody, my name's Tyler Potts and welcome back to another video. In this video we're going to be covering CSS animations. We're going to be using basically simple animations, transitions and keyframes to create some different animations. This is one example of a transition utilizing CSS gradients to basically create this cool button effect like it's sliding from the left to the right. And also if we refresh the page, when we first load in we get this animation where once it loads, where it slides in and everything comes in piece by piece. So we'll be creating that in our video today. So let's get into that. Okay everybody, before we get into doing the actual thing I just showed you, I want to just go over a few basic things. So let's create a main.css file here. And we're going to just quickly reset the body value. We're going to say margin 0, padding 0, background color is going to be equal to FFCE00. Font family, oh that's not font family. Font family is going to be equal to anything really. We'll go Roboto, Helvetica, Roboto, Helvetica, Arial and sans serif. We didn't need to put that, we could literally put none for this example. I don't know why I did a full stack. Okay, now once we have done that, so everything looks good. Nice, so let's style up our main. Let's give it a padding of 25 pixels. A width of 100%, actually no width needed. A margin 0 auto. A height of 100 vertical height. So let's press this. And so far so good off in the height on it. And let's add a box sizing of border box so it doesn't overflow. Let's actually add a width of 100% and a max width of 768 pixels. Let's swap that underneath. Okay, now that's sorted, let's move on to the next bit, which is the box. So let's get this box. We'll give it a width of 200 pixels and a height of 200 pixels. Its background color is going to be equal to 171717. Let's hit save. So there we go. We've got our box. It's a very basic box. It's not doing anything right now. So there are two different ways of doing animations in CSS. Two main ways of doing animations in CSS. The first one being the transition property. So we could add onto this box transition and we can give it a second. So we'll say transition, we'll say all for half a second each time. So now we can add a, let's say a hover effect onto this. So when we hover over this box, we want to say the background color goes from the current gray to a really, really light gray. So if I hover over this box, as you can see, it goes to a light gray and back to the dark gray. And that is one way you can do transitions or animations. You can also do other things. So we could set the, so if we set the position relative, and we'd say it's left is equal to 0. And here we can say left is equal to 20 pixels. And as you can see, it moves slightly to the left, or to the right in theory. It pushes it from the left 20 pixels. And there you go. So that is how you can manipulate stuff. We'll add a top 2. We'll say top 20 pixels. And we'll add in the top here. Top 20 pixels. Now let's watch that move. So, we do have a height on it. Why is it not moving? For some reason it doesn't want to go down. Oh, my bad. I set the top equal to 20 pixels to start with. There you go. So now it moves in a diagonal direction down towards the right, bottom right. And that is basically how you can do transitions. We can also add a different way of doing it. So as you can see, this is quite a, starts off quite fast and it ends up going a bit slow towards the end. That is called ease. So we can set a timing function. We can say ease in out. So this is basically going to say it's going to start off slow, and to be fair, we need to up this to actually see it. So let's move it 50 we'll say 100 pixels. Let's hit save, and now let's hover. So you might not notice anything. So if we set this, so there's different modes. The first one I like to go for is linear. So this means it moves in a linear pace. So it starts off at the same speed and finishes at the same speed. As you can see, there's no change in the speed. Next up, we can say ease in. And ease in basically starts slowly. So as you can see, it starts slowly and speeds up. We can then say ease out, which is the opposite. It starts off at a decent pace and slows down towards the edge. Next up, we can also do in out, which basically starts off slow, speeds up towards middle, and slows down towards the end, as you can see. And then there is another way of doing timing function, which is called the cubic Bessier. So these ones have loads of different examples already put in here, but I have never used these. I'm just quickly looking at overshoots. So this one, I believe, as you can see, it goes backwards before it goes forwards, which is kind of cool. If we set this to, let's say, 1.5, kind of has a little bounce on both sides now. So now it's kind of bouncy. It's not very cool, but you can change this. So there is a tool in Chrome. If I open up this console and let's place it to the bottom, if we go to the elements and we go down to, how do I find the timing? Oh, sorry, I need to select the box. And there you go. You've got this cubic Bessier. If we click this, it gives us a way to modify it. So look, we can move that down. So now if I hover on that, the bounce changes. We can set it back to this, and let's set this really high up. So this is going to be insane bounce. So now if I have, as you can see, it shoots off into a random direction. So this one way you can control your animation. It basically controls how crazy your animation gets. So that's pretty cool. So cubic Bessier is pretty awesome. Let's dock it back to the, oh wait, actually what am I doing? We don't need it. Let's close it. So that is one way. Let's remove that and we're just going to leave it at nothing. So that is one way you can animate your box or any element on the page. There's many, again, there is loads of different things you can. So let's say opacity is equal to 1. And then over here we'll say opacity is equal to 0.1. Hit save, and now when I hover, as you can see, it fades out to a 0.1 opacity. So there's loads of different properties you can animate. You can probably Google it and find them out. So there is another way. So let's comment out this stuff here. Let's close that. Let's remove this. And the next one is keyframes. And with keyframes, you give it a name. So you give it keyframes and you give it a name. We're going to give this one slide in. And basically we're just going to say, so we're going to give this a left of minus 100%, which should make it disappear off the screen. Now we're going to say there's two ways to do keyframes. It's in ways we can do it. We can give it a from, and this basically says this is from left minus 100%. And then we can say to left 0%. If we hit save, and nothing happens because we have to call it in here. So we've got to give it an animation. We could do it different ways. The animation is the shorthand way of doing it. So you write animation and name and everything, or we could do it in the different properties. So we're going to do it in different properties. And we'll give it a name, and this one's going to be called slide in. And then we need to give it a duration, which is how long it takes. Duration, and we're going to say 1 second. Let's hit save, and as you see, it comes in, and it disappears. The reason it disappears is because the animation is set to reset once it finishes. So once it finishes, it goes back to the default values. Now we can change it by saying animation fill mode, and we can set it to forwards. So that means once it's in, it now sets its position to whatever we went to. So another way to get to a position is we can set this to 0%, and we say it goes to 100%. So now it does the same thing. 0% is the from and 100% is the to. But now we could add in an extra 50% midway. And let's just say left, we'll say it goes to, actually we'll set this equal to 90% and we'll set this equal to 10%. So it like bounces out slightly. So as you can see, it goes slightly over and then comes back. And that is enough a way we could do it. So you can set this, this can be 1%, 2%. So you can add as many of these as you want. So we could say 10%, and at 10% we'll set this equal to maybe minus 20%, and then 50% we'll set it back to minus 30, and then so forth. So this, see, it kind of has I don't know what that animation is. It's not very good. Let's refresh again, but it's just one example of doing it. So there is loads of other properties. We can add an animation delay. So this gives it, we'll say 0.5 seconds. So now when we hit save, it waits 0.5 seconds before doing the animation. Another one would be animation. So actually it only happens once. We can add an iteration count, and we could say, so as you can see there's an infinite thing, which means it will go on forever. So now bounces in, bounces back in, it keeps bouncing back in and out. Now we could set this to, let's say, 3. So we want it to happen 3 times. So that will go once, twice, 3 times, and then it will stay where it is. So we're not going to set that. We're just going to, I was just showing that off. And another one is the timing function. So just like the cubic Bezier and stuff we did there, we could set this to, again, ease in, out. So it starts off slow and then it comes in slow. We could set it to ease in, so it only comes in slow. Again, we can set it to ease out. And we can set it to linear, which is a similar speed. And then we can do our cubic Bezier. Let's just do this one, hit save. And you can see it added a little extra bounce there. So yeah, the timing function is actually one of my favorite things about animations, because you can do so much crazy things with just the cubic Bezier, as they call it. And let me show you how you do the, well, so actually there is a play state which says if it's playing or not playing, so running or paused. If it's paused and we hit play, it's not going to do anything. If it's running and we let it go, it actually, see it starts running. So this isn't the only one. We can comment this out and we can write the shorthand version. And in the shorthand version, we give the name again. So slide in, we give it the time we want it to take, so 1 second. We can give it a delay, so 0.5 seconds. And then we can set it to be forwards. And if we hit save, as you can see, that all happened. So if we refresh, let's set this to be 2.5 seconds so we can, as you can see, you can feel that delay now, and then it comes in, just so you can see the delay actually works, because I don't think 0.5 really did it any justice. Or we can just get rid of that altogether and just have that, and that is that. And then we could add in, let's say, a linear, so it comes in linearly. Again, this is just a shorthand way of doing it. You can do it any way you want, whichever way you prefer. I prefer doing it, well, it depends how I'm feeling. Some days I do it differently. I'm never consistent. Don't judge me. Try and be consistent, people. So yeah, we moved them from the left, actually minus 100%, over to 0% with some dodgy values going in and out to create some weird effect. But again, you can do loads with this. You don't have to just level. We can give this a transform, and we can say rotate, and we'll set this up to 0 degrees to start with. And let's copy this, and let's say at 50% when it's partly in, we want to give this 45 degrees. And then by the time it's finally back in, we want to set it to 360 degrees. So as you can see, it like spins in and then does some weird thing. We could also set this to 0, so it would do something slightly different. There you go. So it kind of like pivots, it like tilts in and then bends back. And so you can start getting crazy with this. So you could say, so not only transform, rotate, we could say translate on the y-axis, and we can say move it to 100 pixels down. And then let's hit save, and as you can see, it moved down. I believe it came back up as well, but if we go down here, so we set it to 100, and then let's set it to 200. So Actually, it moves all the way down there and then it sits down here. So it's kind of cool. You could do loads of cool different things with this. But now let's put it into a practical situation. So this was me just showing you how to use it. Now we're going to actually pull it into a more of a practical situation. So first thing first, let's remove this in the box because we're not going to be needing it. Let's hit save and the rest can stay the same. Let's go into our index and let's create some markup. So we want the main and then we want a h1 with the class of title. We don't want to say CSS and we'll give it a span which has animations in there. Hit save and there we go. CSS Animations is there. Let's then add a p tag with the class of content and give it a lorem 50. And I think that works pretty well. So save, there we go. Our text is now in there. And then finally, let's give it an a. href can be nothing. And this will say fancy button. And let's give this a class equal to button. And there we go, little fancy button there. Let's go style this stuff up. Hello, computer, you're gonna... Sorry, my Mac was being funny there. Okay, so we've got our main. Let's now get our title, and we're going to give this a position. So most things, if you want to affect the left, right, top properties, you need to give it a relative or an absolute position or something similar. You can't just leave it as static, else it will never move. So let's give it a color of 171717. Let's give it a font size of 36 pixels. Yeah, that looks good. Let's text align center and then font weight of 900 and then margin 15 pixels, 0 pixels, and then left. So we're gonna actually, well, we'll leave the left out for now until we actually get into the animation part. Let's now go title and say span, and we're just going to say the font weight is equal to 300 pixels. So there we go. That is now styled up and it looks pretty good. After the title, we want to get content. So we're going to say dot content. We're going to just give this a position relative so we can manipulate the position of it using top, left, right, and bottom. Let's give it another color of 11171717. We're going to give this the opacity of 0.75, so it looks like it's not being affected too much, or it's less bright than the actual title. Let's give it a font size, and we're going to say 18 pixels. Is that going to be too much? No, I think that looks nice. And then let's give this a margin of 15 pixels and 0 pixels too, just so it sits a bit better. And that's good for content styling. Now let's style the button. This button styling is a lot more important, so we have to put a bit more time into this. So we're going to give this, sorry, let me bring this up because it's not really in the center. Let's display this as block. Let's give it a width of 200 pixels. A margin of 0 auto to position it central, and a padding of 0 pixels. As you can see, it's kind of moved its center. Now let's give it a color of 171717, font size of 20 pixels, a text transform of uppercase, not uppercase, uppercase, and a text decoration of none. Let's then align the text center and say the line height is equal to 50 pixels. Hit save and there we go. That's moved over. Now let's add a background. Let's add the gradient in, which let's add a border first. A border 2 pixels solid, and it'll be the 171717. Let's hit save and there we go. We've got our little button, but we don't get any hover effect like we want. We now want to add in basic stuff for our animation. So we're going to do the hover transition first. So we're going to add a background image of linear gradient, which is going to say to right. So it's going to go from the left to the right. And we're going to set it as 171717 at 50%, and then transparent at 50%. If we hit save, actually it's going to cover half the button. So we need to actually move this back. So we want to say background position, and we want to say 100%, 50%. Actually, I think the 50% is irrelevant. Hit save. You can see nothing happens because this button has 100%, so it always fits the block. So even if we move it over 100%, it's not going to change. We want to basically add a background size to this, and we need to say about 300, but I'll show you what happens if we add it to 100%, 100%. We hit save, nothing really happens. We'd have to set this to about, I don't know, it might not even work. But let's say we set this to 200, as you can see the button disappears because the button is 200 pixels. I don't know if that's actually how the math works. So 200% and then 100%. So this keeps it 100% height and then 200% width. And now we're going to set the opacity, no, not the opacity, so we're going to set the transition to just 0.5 seconds. So any transition, as you can see, kind of happened there. If I refresh. Oh no, it happened. Maybe it was just because I added in transition just then. Yeah, as soon as I had transition, everything transitioned in for some reason. Because I'm using live server reload, so it doesn't actually fully refresh the page. And now we've got the button. Let's add the button hover then. So let's get that styling in. So now we want to set the color equal to our light gray, just because basically when we hover, we don't want the black to overcome it. Now to get that style, we want to say the background position, and we want to move so we set 200% here, we want to move that to 0%, 50%. So hit save, and now when we hover over the button, as you can see, it does the animation. And that is all it is for that animation. That's just one way of doing animations. You could do loads of different ones. I just thought the gradient was kind of nice. And you can start messing around with different sort of things to do, different things to animate. So maybe we can go border width, and we'll set 5 pixels. So it's going to look stupid, but actually it grows a little too. Or we could say box shadow from, go 3 pixels, 3 pixels, 3 pixels, 6 pixels, or no, 3 pixels, RGBA, and we'll give it a 0.25. Hit save. Now when we hover, you can see a little box shadow appears below it. Maybe we can make that a bit darker. Let's make that fit at 5. There we go. You can see the box shadow appears underneath it, which is kind of cool. I'm going to keep that in. I actually like that. Maybe make it 6. I don't know, actually. Okay, it's getting a bit too thick. Let's stop. But yeah, so that's how that works. That's something really cool we can do. So different things, animate loads of different things. Okay, so now we're going to add the page load animations, which we're going to use keyframes for. So we're going to give this the first keyframes, and this is going to be called fade in, and this is going to be for the button. But actually, you know, let's do it from the top. So we're going to do a keyframe. Let's scroll this up. It's called slide in. And we're going to say from, because we only need it from one to the other. So we're going to say from 100 minus 100% to left of 0%. Hit save, and nothing happens because again we need to add it. So let's go up to our title here. Now we need to set the left equal to minus 100% because else the button, else you'll see it when the page first loads, you'll see the title here and then it will jump over there and slide back in. And we don't want that. We want it to stay. We want it to just come in from the right. So let's do the animation. We're going to do slide in. We're going to give it the duration of 0.5 seconds. We're going to give it a delay of the same because we don't want it to instantly happen. We want enough time so you can actually see it happening. So we don't want it to happen before the page is actually fully loaded. Let's give it the forward property, and then let's give this a cubic Bezier. And for this one, we're going to say 0.5, 0.5, and then we're going to say 0.1 or 1.5. And this is basically allow it to bounce in a little. So as you can see, it bounces slightly over and comes back, and that sits now nicely there. So if we refresh the page again, as you can see, comes in and bounces back in. So that is one way to animate the title. Next up, we're going to focus on the actual text, so the content here. So we need a new keyframe now, and let's go down here and say keyframes, and we'll call this one falling, because it's not really falling, but it slides in from the top. So we're going to say top minus 100%. We're going to say 2, top, and we're going to say 0%. So let's head up to our content now. And basically we just want to say, let's do this. So we're going to use shorthand again because I prefer using it. Oh, wow, it's gave me what I think we need right here. So we'll say fall in for about 0.5 seconds. The timing function, so forwards. The delay, which is going to be 1 second now, because we want it to happen just as the other the title finishes. We're then going to say iteration count. We're just going to delete that. The direction, I don't know what that is. Oh, timing function was the QB basis. We'll say linear. And then fill mode, we're going to give this forwards. So it's save. And as you can see, it just did that thing. So if I refresh again, it stays there, it jumps up and then slides down. That's because we haven't set it to be top equal to minus 100% to start with. So now it's not actually in view. So now it falls in. Now, the final one for our button, we're going to add in a fade. So we're going to say keyframes, fade in, and we're going to say from, again, opacity 0 to, and opacity 1. So we're just going to get fade in all the way in. So let's go to our button, and now let's add in a animation name. So animation, we'll give it fade in. We're going to set it to start for 0.5 seconds. It can be linear, I think, the actual timing function. Then we're going to give it a delay for 1.5 seconds. So once both of the animations are finished, and then we're going to set it equal to forwards. That's now how you spell forwards. There we go. Hit save. And then the button does it again. So we actually need to add an opacity here of 0. So it starts off faded out. There you go. So let's refresh. So the title comes in, text falls in, and the button fades in. I think the button needs a whole second to come in because I feel like it comes in too quickly. There you go. That's a lot nicer. So that is one way you can do CSS animate. Well, two ways essentially. You can do CSS animations just with HTML and CSS. Now, you can do more with JavaScript and stuff, of course. You can add more interactivity to it. So when you, let's say, click a button, it does something. Well, you could do that in this. It's called active, but you could do it so when you click a button, the button like spins out of control, flies back and comes back and stuff like that. All crazy stuff. But basically, you should now go away, mess around with CSS animations to see what you guys come up with. Maybe create a code pen and send me the link to the code pen in the comments or to our Discord server or something like that. That'd be pretty awesome to see what you guys come up with. I hope you learned something in this video, so how CSS animations work. If you want to see a more in-depth CSS animation tutorial, so something more along the lines of like animating lazy loading a page or something, so when you scroll down the images slowly load in as you scroll, parallaxing animations or anything like that, then drop a comment below and I'll get onto more detailed CSS animations in the future. But for now, guys, thank you for watching this video. I hope you enjoyed. If you did, then hit that like button. If you want to see more, then don't forget to hit that subscribe button. And here's a little tip for you. If you hit that bell notification too, you'll get a notification as soon as my next video goes live. Other than that, guys, I hope you did enjoy. Again, if you have any feedback, drop it in the comments below or hop over to our Discord server, the link is in the description, and leave a comment there. Just for everyone who doesn't know, I do have a Patreon. You can go and support me over at Patreon. And again, the Patreon link will be in the description. Now, while we're talking about patrons, guys, thank you for watching, and here are our Patreons.
Always do it on my own, so I gotta get through it. And the only thing I know is to love what I'm doing. Never give up, never slow, till I finally prove it. Never listen to the no's, I just wanna keep moving. Keep my head up when I act, head up, that's a fact. Never looking back, I'ma keep myself on track. Keep my head up, staying strong, always moving on. Feel I don't belong.